cultural awareness to employees and veterans, as well as my purpose, my main goal was to provide an overview of some of the contributions that the Asian American and Pacific Islander group has made both to our military service and as well as to our VA. Our two guest speakers are Dr. Paz Kogan, who represents both veterans and VA employees for much longer than I would ever been possible.
What did you have to say?
And I didn't say how long. And Dr. Rajakone, who has also been a long-term employee and physician that's well valued here at the VA. And both of these represent all the greatest values that the VA represents and are highly esteemed and regarded both by their fellow employees as well as their patients. So I'm pleased to present them as speakers for our event today. As well as their speaking, I also have a thing that recognizes all the Medal of Honor winners that the Asian American and Pacific Islanders have had serving through all the wars, most of the wars that we've had in our country's history. And on the other side is stuff about some of the more notable VA employees, primarily Secretary Shinseki and Secretary Chow. And there's also a little bit there on veteran stories of veterans and who are Asian American and Pacific Islanders and what their experiences have been. And it was a great interactive website that you can go to and find out more. So without any further ado, Dr. Paz Kogan, would you like to go first?
Sure.
And
Good afternoon. If anybody doesn't know me, I'm Dr. Paz Kogan. I work here in the VA. I see familiar faces. Last month when Mrs. Son Yance approached me to speak to you on this commemoration day, I asked myself, why me? I tried to get out of it. I mentioned there's probably a number of prominent individuals in Blair County and in this VA itself that are more deserving to speak to you today. And also I stated, I'm going on vacation this week. I lied. I apologize, Ms. Yance. I asked for a couple of days to deliberate about the decision whether to speak to you or not. And then it occurred to me, I do have a story to tell. I am an Asian. I am an ethnic heritage that came from the tropical islands of the Philippines. I came here as an exchange student, a foreign medical graduate, on a student visa, and then traded that student visa to a green card to become an immigrant to this great nation. I do have a story to tell. I hope I don't bore you. I came from a family of 7 children. My mother was a nurse midwife, and my father was a laborer in the sugarcane factory in the Philippines. The first priority for all 7 of us was education. During my high school year, I tried to accompany my mother on every delivery she got called upon in the town I live in. Anytime, anywhere, in the barriers, in the boondocks, once or twice. I became her first assistant in difficult cases. And in due time, I was delivering newborns myself under her mentoring. Now, that's patient issue. I don't think I had my quality team management at that time, but I didn't have any complications, mind you. So she wanted me to become a physician, an obstetrician, to say the least. That was a difficult situation for the family. It was going to be a hardship, but I did go to medical school in University of Santo Tomas in Manila, graduated with a Doctor of Medicine, and after graduation, I realized I had to pay back my family. You see, my parents sold or leased some properties for me to go to school, finish my education in medicine. And a brother of mine, a younger brother of mine, had to stay home during the duration. I realized I had to do something. At that time, this country was called the land of opportunity. I applied for student visa and became an exchange student. So you see, this trip of mine as an exchange student was to pay back my family. At the same time, I wanted to pursue my medical career, part of my studies. Whatever salary that I earned during my training as a surgical resident went back to the Philippines. Most of it to my parents, who subsequently bought back their land. My brother went to school and became a mechanical engineer on his own right. I also managed to sponsor another younger brother to come in as an intern in the medical technology field in the hospital I was working or training as a general surgeon. He became a fully qualified, certified medical technologist in the same hospital that I work in. And this brother of mine subsequently sponsored our younger brother to come in this land of opportunity. So this story is not unlike any other tales that you heard or read about immigrants to this country. I mentioned during my training, I was working, and it was the time of the Vietnam War, which was very unpopular. Two of my friends went to the Vietnam War. One was drafted and one volunteered. Both of them were immigrants. Both of them came home walking wounded. The hostilities towards the unpopularity of the war and to the returning veterans disturbed me. I remember a riot in Ohio, Kent University, while protests are being done by students, and some college students died, shot by our own soldiers. And then there is another picture that etched on my mind was Hanoi Jane, who was perched on an anti-aircraft gun pointing to the sky, presumably against our warship or airship, and with the North Vietnamese soldiers clapping and smiling. She became a propagandist, basically, for the North Vietnamese. This really bothered me, and I resolved that after finishing my residency, I'd like to help the veterans. In 1973, I came here. I was hired as a general surgeon. I met my wife here in Abdullah. We had 6 children, including a stepdaughter. Thank you for coming. Also, I had my naturalization here in Hollidaysburg court. That was one of the proudest moments of my life. I resolved to be a good immigrant, a good American citizen. I joined the Army, got commissioned in the Medical Corps. I was mobilized 4 times. First time was in 1990, 1991 for Desert Shield, Desert Storm. This was followed by a humanitarian mission in Ecuador. In 2003, I went to Kosovo, Bosnia for Operation Joint Freedom. I was working with the NATO forces, doing twice-a-week medical missions all the way up the outskirts, and that was a story in itself. I wouldn't bore you with that one. My last mobilization was in 2005 in support of the OEF, Operation Enduring Freedom. I was destined to go to Afghanistan. 1 week prior to departure, a military order change came. I was ordered to proceed to Walter Reed Army Medical Center as a general surgeon in support of OEF. At Walter Reed Medical Center, the sites of the young veterans and old veterans dealing with lost eyesight, lost limbs,